Welcome to Milo's cybersecurity training, and thank you for joining us on day 2 of our 31-day challenge. The CIA Triad: Confidentiality, Integrity, and Availability. Yesterday, we discussed what cybersecurity is and why it matters in our digitally connected world. Today, we turn our attention to a core framework that underpins virtually every security strategy and policy: the CIA Triad. The letters C, I, and A stand for confidentiality, integrity, and availability, 3 concepts that guide the design and evaluation of cybersecurity measures. Understanding the CIA Triad isn't just for security professionals, it's for anyone who wants to protect personal or organizational data. By the end of this session, you'll see how each element of the Triad intersects with your day-to-day digital life, from guarding private messages to keeping vital systems running smoothly. The first element in the CIA Triad is confidentiality. In simple terms, confidentiality focuses on keeping sensitive information private. Whether we're talking about corporate trade secrets, customer records, or your personal photos, confidentiality ensures that only authorized individuals or systems can access that data. One way to visualize confidentiality is to imagine a sealed envelope containing a secret. As long as the envelope is intact and only delivered to the intended recipient, the secret remains safe. However, if someone else opens the envelope or reads its contents without permission, confidentiality is broken. In the digital realm, breaches of confidentiality can happen in many ways, including hackers intercepting unencrypted data on public Wi-Fi, an employee accidentally forwarding an internal email to an external recipient, or a cybercriminal stealing login credentials through a phishing scam. This is why encryption, strong passwords, and strict access controls are so important. They help keep the virtual envelope sealed and away from prying eyes. Encryption is perhaps the most familiar tool in protecting confidentiality. By converting readable data into an unreadable code, encryption ensures that even if a cybercriminal intercepts your messages or files, they cannot decipher the contents without the appropriate decryption key. Many messaging apps and online services advertise end-to-end encryption, meaning that your data is protected from the moment it leaves your device until it arrives at the intended destination. However, encryption isn't foolproof. If someone manages to steal your password, they can effectively unlock the encrypted data, which is why combining encryption with other methods, such as multi-factor authentication, is essential. Another cornerstone of confidentiality is the principle of least privilege, which limits access to the minimum level that an individual or process needs to perform their role. For example, just because an employee works at a company doesn't mean they should have complete access to all internal documents. By restricting what each account can view and modify, organizations dramatically reduce the risk of an internal breach, whether accidental or malicious. Moving on to the second element, integrity is about ensuring that data remains accurate and unaltered. In other words, integrity means that when you open a file, send an email, or perform a transaction, the information hasn't been tampered with between the time it leaves the sender and arrives at the recipient. Consider an online banking transaction. You want confidence that when you transfer $500 to your landlord, the number doesn't suddenly change to $5,000 or $50 during transit. You also want to know that the funds land in the correct account without being diverted elsewhere. In an organizational context, integrity might involve making sure that a product inventory list or a patient's medical record has not been modified by an unauthorized individual. Subtle changes, such as altering dates or swapping out account numbers, can go unnoticed yet cause enormous damage. One way to protect integrity is through checksums or hashing algorithms. A checksum is like a digital fingerprint for a file or piece of data. If you download a software package, the publisher might provide a unique string of characters, a hash, that corresponds exactly to the authentic file. When you download the software, you can generate the hash of your downloaded file and compare it to the publisher's hash. If even a single bit is different, because the file got corrupted or was tampered with, the 2 hashes won't match, alerting you to the problem. On the transactional side, digital signatures are another powerful tool. A digital signature can verify both the sender's identity and the integrity of the data. If any part of a digitally signed document is altered, the signature becomes invalid. These mechanisms help ensure that our messages, transactions, and software updates remain trustworthy. While integrity tools like hashing and digital signatures can be highly effective, they rely heavily on secure key management and vigilant users. If the private keys used to generate digital signatures are stolen, an attacker can create fraudulent signatures. If users ignore or fail to check provided hashes, they may inadvertently install compromised software. Sometimes, a malicious actor doesn't even need to break advanced cryptography if they can manipulate a less secure link in the chain, such as a company's automated update process. This is why layered security is so crucial. You don't just rely on one system or method, you employ multiple checks, each reinforcing the other. Logging and audit trails are also part of maintaining integrity. By recording every change made to a database or document, you can detect anomalies, trace the source of suspicious edits, and roll back to a known good version if necessary. The third element, availability, is often overlooked in casual discussions about cybersecurity, yet it is just as critical as confidentiality and integrity. Availability means ensuring that data and systems remain accessible to authorized users whenever needed. If you can't access your files, send an email, or run essential processes, even temporarily, the impact can be significant. Imagine an online retailer whose website goes down during a holiday sale, or a hospital whose patient records become inaccessible in an emergency. These situations can lead to financial losses, reputational damage, and even endanger lives. One of the most common threats to availability is a distributed denial of service, DDoS, attack, where attackers flood a network or server with so much traffic that it becomes overwhelmed and unable to respond to legitimate users. Other causes of downtime include hardware failures, software bugs, or even natural disasters. Maintaining availability involves strategies like redundancy, failover systems, and robust network infrastructures. Redundancy means having backup systems or copies of data in case the primary system fails. This could be as simple as storing your important files both locally and in a cloud backup, or as complex as having multiple data centers spread across different geographic regions. Failover is a process where if one system goes down, another one automatically takes over, minimizing service disruption. Load balancing helps distribute traffic evenly across multiple servers, preventing any single server from becoming a bottleneck. On the software side, organizations use careful patching, performance monitoring, and capacity planning to anticipate and avoid scenarios that could degrade system performance or cause crashes. Availability is especially important in industries like finance, healthcare, and government services, where outages can have dire consequences. Just as with confidentiality and integrity, the human element also plays a role in availability. Administrators must monitor systems for anomalies, keep hardware and software updated, and have well-rehearsed incident response plans in place should something go wrong. One of the reasons the CIA Triad is so fundamental to cybersecurity is because each component can compete with the others. For example, stringent confidentiality measures, like complex encryption and multi-factor authentication, can sometimes slow down access to data, which might reduce availability if not implemented thoughtfully. Similarly, high availability might mean more entry points or backup systems, potentially widening an organization's attack surface and increasing the risk of compromised confidentiality. Striking the right balance is an art. If you put too many burdens on end users in the name of integrity, you might encourage them to circumvent security controls just to get their jobs done. On the other hand, if you prioritize convenience too much, you might leave your network open to trivial attacks. Successful cybersecurity strategies weigh these priorities, often making calculated trade-offs based on the value of the data and the potential threats an organization faces. The CIA Triad also forms a conceptual framework for assessing the impact of security incidents. When a breach occurs, organizations determine if confidentiality, integrity, or availability has been compromised. A data leak typically targets confidentiality, an alteration of financial records hits integrity, and a system outage affects availability. Some advanced cyber attacks can impact more than one element. Ransomware, for example, can lock down systems, affecting availability, and threaten to release sensitive data, affecting confidentiality, unless the victim pays a ransom. Understanding how an attack maps to the CIA Triad helps security teams decide on the best response and mitigation strategy, as well as anticipate further attacks that might exploit the same vulnerabilities. Beyond the technical and organizational angle, the CIA Triad resonates with personal users too. Confidentiality applies whenever you store or share private information on social media or through messaging apps. Integrity matters when you're sending important documents via email, or when you rely on accurate information from online sources. Availability hits home the moment your favorite website is down or your cloud storage is inaccessible. By viewing these everyday events through the lens of the CIA Triad, you become more aware of potential risks and the measures needed to mitigate them. A good practice is asking yourself, is my data still private if someone else glances at my screen or overhears me in a public space? Or, what happens if my cloud backup is temporarily offline? Do I have a local copy of the files I urgently need? As technology evolves, so does our understanding and implementation of the CIA Triad. Rapid developments in fields like artificial intelligence and quantum computing raise questions about the future of encryption, confidentiality, the complexity of data verification, integrity, and the resilience of networks, availability. The CIA Triad remains relevant precisely because it's flexible. No matter how sophisticated the tools and threats become, these three pillars provide a dependable way to evaluate and protect data. In fact, many organizations expand upon the Triad with additional elements like accountability, non-repudiation, and privacy. Still, the foundational backbone is the same, underscoring the universal need to keep data secret when necessary, keep it correct, and keep it accessible to those who need it. In summary, the CIA Triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, serves as the bedrock principle for virtually all cybersecurity planning and operations. Confidentiality protects the secrecy of data, integrity ensures the data can be trusted, and availability keeps data and systems running when needed. It's important to remember that these three components are interdependent. Focusing on just one or two while neglecting the others can leave you exposed. As we move forward in this 31-day cybersecurity challenge, you'll see how the CIA Triad influences every topic from password creation to incident response. Embracing the Triad as a guiding framework helps you make informed decisions about which tools to use, which processes to implement, and how to strike the right balance between usability and security. Thank you for joining me on day 2 of this journey. By understanding the CIA Triad, you've taken a crucial step towards strengthening your overall cybersecurity posture. Tomorrow, we'll build on this foundation by looking at specific cyber threats and exploring how the Triad helps us resist them. Remember that each day's lesson is designed to stand on its own, but together, they will form a comprehensive approach to safeguarding your digital life. Whether you're looking to protect personal photos or maintain the uptime of a commercial website, confidentiality, integrity, and availability will guide your decisions and actions. Subscribe to Milo's Cybersecurity, innovate, secure, and excel in the digital age.